Welcome back to the Stag Raw podcast. Thank you so much to everybody that's listening. Last month was the most listened to of all time. So we hit a new benchmark there for the Stag Raw podcast. We've been investing in growing the audience. Thank you so much for everyone that showed up. The followers on Spotify, we're 5 away from magical 1,000. So if you are listening on Spotify, make sure you hit that follow. And I think we're up to 65 reviews as well. So if you haven't done that yet, that'd be much appreciated. Let's crack through that 70 as we head towards 100 odd. This podcast, I had the absolute pleasure of being joined by Danyon Fairbrother. So Answers Within is what Danyon's Instagram and YouTube is called. He asked me a few months back to contribute to the page, which I obliged. Been lucky in my life to not have to deal with anything too severe, but like anyone, there's always these moments that challenge you, and you've got to call on what's within and to get through it, and the skills that you've learned and practiced over time. And I'm just grateful that the things that I've had to deal with have been slowly accumulating in their severity, and so been able to handle those. But of course, not many people, not many. A lot of people out there are not so lucky with how they deal with things, and Answers Within is about that. Of course, the podcast is brought to you by Cane's Deer Velvet. If you or a loved one have some aches and pains setting in, or an injury that needs support to heal, consider topping up your body with Cane's Deer Velvet. It's packed full of amazing nutrients that the body uses in maintaining the immune system, bones, joints, circulation, and general well-being. Find out more at canesdeervelvet.com and use the code STAGRAW252 to get 20% off introductory discount. Drink Arepa. We were at the Arepa Mindful Morning with Cooper Chapman. So again, there's sort of answers within and tools and stuff. Cooper's story is sort of inspired by people in this community. With his younger sister at her school, someone committed suicide, and then that was followed up, as unfortunately seems to happen. And Cooper, being a pro surfer, decided to use this platform for good and help give young people the tool of gratitude to help improve their outlook, help open their eyes and open their minds to the possibility of, as the quote goes, if you're going through hell, keep going. And so Arepa put on the most magnificent morning. They put on 2 sessions. We were lucky enough to be signed up straight away, but we ended up at the second session, which was really cool. We ran into Zane Monroe again, which was awesome. And Harry, who runs the shared space where everything was held. That was really cool to meet everyone. Ben Smeal was there, which I was just like, whoa, that's cool. I just heard about or reheard about Ben via Carl Reed, and again the work he's doing on giving people tools and perspective to move on with life and get out of that victim mentality and make change and make positive outlook. So yeah, that was a powerful morning, and of course the legend Nigel Beach was there to do some breath work. I took myself to a pretty cool place. It's always good to have breathwork facilitated. So if you're interested in breathwork, going along to a workshop, in particular one of Nigel's, they're fantastic. I could highly recommend them. And that's another topic we talk about here with Danyon is the power of breathwork in sort of turning that switch to be present to the things that have affected you, hold space for them, and be reborn, basically. Unreal. So, without further ado, let's get into this episode with Danyon. If you'd like to reach out to either myself or Danyon, It'd be much appreciated if you could enjoy this, or you're getting something out of this. If you could share it to your stories on Instagram, tag us both. That'd be awesome. And of course, as we spoke about at the start, if we can keep subscribing and sharing and liking, rating the podcast, that'd be much appreciated. Thank you so much. Let's go. Awesome. Danyon Fairbrother, how are you, mate?
Yeah, good man. How are you?
Good, bro. I've had a good day. First question for you, what year were you born?
I was born in 1993.
Oh, so it's not a Danyon Loader reference then.
Mate, I can't swim to save myself. I get this all the time.
But no, it wasn't after Atlanta, 96, that you got named Danyon.
Yeah. So I'm not actually too sure of the full story. My mum has said something around a place in Australia. It may have been called Canyon, and then Danyon came out of it. But yeah, I'm not too sure, but I definitely wasn't named after the swimmer. That's for sure.
No, yeah, he was my hero for a while, and then I sort of met him at actually when the pool opened in Invercargill. It was shortly after he'd won those Olympic golds, and yeah, got to meet him. Got a signature on a T-shirt. I've still got that T-shirt somewhere, and
Oh wow,
yeah, what a beast that was. Two gold medals in an event he wasn't even sort of used to. He used to be a butterflyer, and then 200 and 400 freestyle, 2 gold medals. Thank you.
yeah. Crazy, isn't it?
Oh, I'd say. Mate, so we had a bit of a chat on Instagram. You said you used to grow up in East Christchurch and around all over the place. But
Yeah.
like I was sort of thinking back, like growing up in Invercargill, we sort of thought of Christchurch as pretty fine. And then Scribe came out, and it was like, oh, maybe Christchurch ain't so flashy as it appears. And then I sort of did a few soccer tournaments out in West Christchurch, out Linwood ways, and then I moved to Christchurch and played rugby. I actually played for Linwood and sort of saw the other side of the place. Well, what did you sort of experience in a town like Christchurch? You hear of the white trashness of Christchurch, but I never experienced it.
Yeah, I guess from like doing geographicals all over New Zealand to try and escape myself, I've kind of realized it doesn't really matter where you go. It all kind of depends on, where you're at in life, how you're feeling, what's going on. Like I wasn't in a good place in like my teenage years. So that negative energy kind of seeped out into the universe as such. And obviously I was down in Christchurch, so negative attracts negative, and I was hanging around with negative people. But don't get me wrong, Christchurch is a beautiful city. It's my hometown. It's where I was born. A shout out to Scribe. He's a legend, and he has turned his life around. But yeah, I get what you mean. It's you don't really kind of know things unless you've kind of gone through it or seen it for yourself. Yeah, you know what I mean? And I think that's, there's definitely a lot of crazy stories that have come out of Christchurch, and I guess it does come down to, the drugs, the alcohol, trauma, all that type of stuff. But I can definitely say yes, I have experienced some crazy things in Christchurch, but I've also experienced some awesome times as well. It's that catch-22.
Yeah, it's interesting what you say there, like the veil of things, and then what lies beneath. And I think that was the documentary that Scribe did really sort of showed, like, you kind of heard the surface level in my music, and then you saw me in the media and the tabloids, like, described as self-destructing, but actually the environment I came from, the sort of way I felt about life, it was almost as though it's no surprise, and he needed to help himself, and like you say, he had to kind of go back and break some of those cycles and move forward, and then, like you say, attract better things and move his life forward.
Oh, 100%. And I guess, his testimony and that documentary and stuff is a beautiful example of letting guys know that that rut at the moment, and that struggle, and myself, and yourself, like you can go through stuff in life and not let it, define you, like you can go through traumas and stuff and come through the other side. It doesn't mean that the traumas have disappeared, or you're not going to have, bad moments or negative thoughts or whatever, voices or whatever it is, like the way I look at it in my life, of, being clean and sober well over 3 years now, is, always kind of acknowledging and identifying that there's like a demon in the corner of the room doing press-ups, just waiting for my weakest moment, and that doesn't necessarily have to be the drugs and alcohol. It can be, gambling, it can be violence, it can be things that I've used in my life to self sabotage. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and it was sort of pretty crazy when you first reached out and you sort of said, I've got this platform and a YouTube channel, and it's about the tools and experiences that help you out and help you sort of be grounded and find morals and find direction. What lies within you that means that the path is good. And as someone that has been super lucky and had competitive sport from a young age, and supportive parents who are still together, and grandparents and all that sort of stuff, it was quite a tough thing. And I ended up, as you said, that's one of the longest videos we've had. I just kind of had to reflect back on what has kept me on the path, and that's sort of been my last question for these podcasts, is what keeps you in flow, because that's how I've sort of been able to get so lucky, is that I've just had these things that keep moving me along. And I've had my moments, especially going to university at 18 and like without a real identity, that got a bit rough, but I was lucky that I was able to get bounced back into the highway again and carry on with what I was doing, and nothing too untoward has happened to me. But there's always that chance that nothing does push you back, and then you take another step and another step, and all of a sudden you find yourself in turmoil. Like, how did you sort of go through your own journey and then sort of think, I need supporting stories to help emphasize this message of things that within you can keep you going? How did that sort of come about?
Yeah, so throughout my life, I've had, my fair share of like drug and alcohol treatment centers. I've spent over 3 years, and then in and out of them throughout my teenage life. I've gone through some stuff, in childhood. I've always kind of been, labeled as a naughty kid as such, and always kind of felt like I wasn't like the rest of the kids and stuff like that. So basically, to cut a long story short, I started, using drugs and alcohol. I ended up getting at the end of it all, I ended up getting addicted to methamphetamine. That took me on a wild ride. But in between all of that was, just drugs, alcohol, just whatever I could really get my hands on to escape Danyon, and I guess that's what the YouTube channel and the Instagram and all the guys, that are involved, that's what I'm trying to promote, Ryan, is that I'm sick of hearing brothers out there taking their life. You know what I mean? Like, we're in New Zealand. It's a small, beautiful country, but yet we've got one of the most craziest suicide rates. And, there's so much movement now. There's so much talk. There's so much pages. There's so much, guys actively doing things about it, which is great. However, it still keeps happening, and I'm not putting that on anyone, because at the end of the day, it basically, it is what it is. But it's just trying to kind of figure out on what's actually going on. And I feel from my own experience of being a suicide survivor, trying it a couple of times very seriously, that I've had to really go inwards and get comfortable with being uncomfortable, which means, talking about stuff that I didn't want to talk about, sitting down with the counselor and telling him stuff that I was going to take to my grave, because there's, the cliche saying, secrets keep you sick type thing, if you keep everything painted up, stacked up like pancakes as such, it's all just going to come out sideways. And that's what keeps kind of happening in my life. So I guess the main drive for what I do and the videos and the reels I do and the guys that I get on the YouTube channel, including yourself. It's just showing, because now it's like it's not just New Zealand now. I've got guys from all around the world type thing. So it's just basically promoting and getting it on this, thing that they call social media, on the algorithm, that guys can consciously talk about things that truly matter to them. And self-belief is so important, like I'm never going to get the love or the peace that I'm looking for outside of myself until I go in here and feel it myself. And that's something I was completely, I honestly thought that was impossible, man. I had so much self-hate. I had so much anger, resentment, but underneath that was just, tears, sadness that I had to, let out. And I still have to let that stuff out to, like you say, to keep flowing in life. Because if I keep it all within myself, all that negative stuff, it just fucks me over, mate. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I've just finished reading Peter Attia's book, Outlive, and the majority of the book is around like health and being healthy. And the last chapter is about his, well, it goes first person. Like the rest of the book's all general, applying to everybody, and then he goes into the
Yeah.
first person about his mental struggle and his aggression. And he touches on a few things that I've sort of explored that seems pretty prevalent in a lot of males that I've spoken to, that we just sort of run on one channel, and that's good and angry. and yeah, Peter has sort of had times when he's completely lost his shit, which stemmed from child abuse. And he sort of brought up this book and this concept, and the book's called "I Don't Want to Talk About It," and it's on my sort of next to do list. And it's just being able to increase the scope of feeling and experience in life. Like you were saying, you find drugs and alcohol to find different experiences, but all they do is escape. Whereas if you can sort of increase your vocabulary, increase your emotional understanding, then you can experience life more broadly and more fulfilling, and that sort of grows. What was the sort of steps to get you, one, introduced to, and two, willing to sit down with counselling? Was that in these rehab facilities, or they were just a sort of a step on the way?
Yeah, so to be fair, when I was a kid, I ended up being undiagnosed with ADHD from 5 to 12. So from 5 to 12, I was labeled as a naughty kid. So obviously that's kind of where all the shrinks and the teacher aides and stuff kind of first come into my life. And then obviously the older I got, the more appointments, the more counselors, therapists and stuff. Like I've seen them since I was very young. And for me personally, like a lot of the timing just wasn't right. Like the counselor just wasn't right. You know what I mean? It's hard to especially the older I got, to kind of confide and share stuff that I just wasn't feeling was kind of being received in a, I don't know how to explain it, but it's like it's hard to want like camaraderie with someone, or like relate to someone that hasn't gone through the same experience. You know what I mean? And that's what I was kind of finding in the whole counseling realm. It wasn't until I kind of went into treatment for the last time, I met an awesome counselor. And like I said, I told this guy stuff that I was literally going to take to my grave, because I was ashamed. It was eating me up. But I was able to just and a lot of the stuff that I was taking to my grave and stuff is very it's not that serious, you know what I mean? But my brain made it, I've got that loyalty and that code of conduct and the life I've kind of lived. It's been a very deceiving one, you know what I mean? Like I just wanted to be a part of things, bro. I just wanted to, that's why I hung out with a lot of the people I did back in the day, But when I was able to tell this counselor about the stuff that I went through and the way I was viewing things, because I've had some experiences in life where like I said, I've seriously tried to take myself out. So it just got to the point where these voices and these radio stations as such were just getting too loud, man. But yeah, that's basically the longest story of it. But counseling has definitely been in my life ever since I can kind of remember. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that's interesting. Where do you think the shame aspect came from?
We're from New Zealand, brother. Like it's and I guess I never really understood it until started getting into the space, like to how bad it really is. It's like me and my partner, well, my fiance, we had a situation tonight, right, where we're at the gas station. And there was this guy there, and it looked like he's been sitting there for quite some time. So me and my partner are actually going to drive off, and that's the thing, as New Zealanders, we see, like it's like a car broken down on the motorway. How many cars go past that one car broken down on the motorway until someone pulls over and asks if they're okay? So basically, the long story short, this guy, his car wasn't starting. He needed a jump start. So we gave him a jump start. It all went well. Car went on. But like that kind of reflection is how I kind of look at the male New Zealand culture. You know what I mean? It's not until, your bro's like really bad, like obviously bad, like really, really struggling, until we start intervening and going, oh, do you need something? But and like I said, it's hard to kind of pick up. And I think, because of how we've all kind of grown up, and I'm sure you can relate in the rugby culture, you know what I mean, or the sport culture, harden up, mate, have a beer, and and it's such an ingrained culture. And for me, it's been very similar. It's just been, guys don't cry, guys don't show emotion, you just kind of keep everything internal. But yeah, I the way I am now, man, like if we were doing this podcast, 5 or 7 years ago, it'd be a totally different, it'd be a totally different person in front of the screen. I tell you, I definitely didn't always talk like this.
Yeah, what was sort of what were you into? Like, what was your sort of hobby and ego wrapped around?
I think it was just the external life of Eminem and 50 Cent and that American gangster rap type stuff. Like I always kind of wanted to be someone, like I said, I wanted to fit in. I wanted to have a crew of boys, all tough and all that type of stuff. And I think a lot of that stemmed from actually being really hurt and vulnerable. So I wanted to put on a facade, an angry facade of stay the fuck away from me. But really, it was the inner child, reaching out for help. So, when I was younger, I didn't really have much hobbies. Like that, I guess the main hobby was just getting wasted. You know what I mean? And that led me down some really dark paths. Including jail and rehabs and psych unit. All sorts of crazy shit, man. Like I just sit here sometimes and I really just I just can't believe I'm still here. But then at the same time I can, because I truly believe, my purpose is to help that one guy, that's watching this podcast right now, contemplating to take his life, or just having a shit time in general, and just give hope that I've been there, not in the exact spot, obviously, because I'm not them. But I've been in some really dark places, and I've come out the other side. And that's not to say that I don't struggle now, because I fucking do. I'm an apprentice chef. It's a very it's a very on your feet job. But life's changed for me massively, and yeah, it's awesome.
So with that life, did you have anything that was sort of productive or rewarding with it, or was it all just sort of wrapped up in this protectionism type thing? Like you say, you're either putting up a front or completely escaping and getting out of your head and out of your way.
Yeah, I think the biggest drive was the next hit, was the next drink, was the next smoke, was you know what I mean? It was, and even that kind of crime stuff, doing stupid shit, stealing things, just becoming that total scumbag that I totally despised when I was younger. You know what I mean? Like, I give you a scenario. Like, I always said throughout my life that I'd never use needles. I always looked at people that use needles as junkies and all that type of stuff. The more I use, you know, what what happened? I ended up, having some people put a needle in my arm a couple of times, and that's the thing. It's like, especially methamphetamine, it's like it totally just turned me into a demonic, cold person. It was yeah, the shit I was doing, the things I was thinking was just totally insane. Because I guess with that drug comes no sleep, no food, for me, no hygiene, no self-care. It was just, like, if you think about it, even if you weren't using drugs and you stayed up for like a week straight, you start going a bit fucked up, man. So you add the drugs, you add the negative energy around you, it's yeah, it's evil, man. And it's definitely breaking a lot of families and communities out there. And it's just, I'm so glad to be on the other side, because a lot of people, that's honestly one of the, I guess, hardest drugs to kind of stay clean from. It has a very high relapse statistic. And like, the amount of guys that I've gone through treatment with, that aren't here today, or that are back in jail, or in a negative way, is insane. Like, I don't know the exact statistics in a rehab center full of, say, 30 people, but it's definitely not high, man. So some are, but like, it's, relapse has definitely been something also that has been a reoccurring thing. For me now, like, being well over 3 years clean, it's the cleanest I've ever been in my life. And I feel a lot of it has come down to sacrifice and really doing the work and not just talking about it. You know what I mean?
Yeah, no, that's fascinating. Like, obviously, like you talk about, you were at a position where you were looking down the road and be like, "No, I'll never be like that," and you just kind of kept being pulled away and away and away. And we talked about this sort of shame factor. Was it kind of othering and like, oh, I'm just doing this, I'm never that bad. Oh, I'm just doing this, I'm never that bad. Oh, I'm just doing this, I'm never that bad. But without somebody to pull you back in the other direction, did you end up sort of alienating yourself from things that could have brought you back?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, 100%. A lot of it come down to the self-worth and lack of self-love and stuff like that. I just didn't really feel worthy of change. It come to a point where I totally gave up on myself, and unfortunately, I become really comfortable with death, and the fact that I wanted it to happen as soon as possible. I just didn't have the courage and the balls to kind of go through with it. And then when I did, it didn't work. And then when I did again, it didn't work. So, and then that just made me feel worse. You know what I mean? And these were, like I say, very serious attempts, but yeah, I think a lot of it come down to, I could have had a million people chanting my name, but it wasn't, it's not until I'm ready to make that conscious decision of actually doing the work, doing the hard yards, and, getting a stable job, and paying bills, and being an adult man. Because I guess the thing is also, like, until I was able to acknowledge the inner child, that little hurt inner child was running me. And that's why I was escaping and using the drugs, because that little hurt Danyon, wasn't getting the attention and the love. It sounds crazy, but like, that's my reality, man. I truly believe we all have an inner child. You know what I mean? Like, we all have that younger version of ourselves. It's just like jumping on a trampoline or doing some kid orientated thing. It's like, fuck yeah, it brings you back to that childhood vibe. You know what I mean? And yeah, there was definitely a very hurt Danyon in there that I had to acknowledge. And I've done some amazing things to be able to bring that trauma out and really deal with it. And breathwork's definitely been one, and that's done wonders, man. Like, I've done a lot of drugs over my time, but breathwork is a very rewarding thing.
Before we go into breathwork, like you're talking about the inner child and like the hurt child, what's also cool to do is sort of acknowledge the fun and enjoyable child, like you're jumping on trampoline.
Mm.
Like Nicole and I love going to there's a trampoline land there in Taupo, and like I never actually did backflips when I was young, and it wasn't until about 2020 that my mate had a good sized trampoline, and like I follow this guy Keegan Smith, and he bought a trampoline in his backyard to do backflips and teach the guys from the NRL, new skills and new balance things. Like, we're going to learn how to do a backflip, and just like completely change your outlook on life of what's possible. And so, I'm bouncing around this day. I was like, I'm going to try a backflip. So now I like do go to the trampoline land, and we're probably one of the few parents that are out bouncing around. But it is that giving yourself the pat on the back and the permission to like enjoy and have fun and play is so good. And it's just so interesting that on the other side of it, you can have this retention and holding on to so much negativity from your childhood. It's amazing. Do you have sort of something that you champion with that, like that message? To me, I just think of Gabor Mate, or like I've learned from Peter Attia, this other book, like I don't want to talk about it, which I need to read. Do you have anybody that, the message now makes so much sense to you, but like often people can hear an individual talk and they kind of go like, oh, that's all very well for you, but what about me? Like, do you have any sort of people out there that champion the message that you've attached to help you bring yourself out of this, like you say, the doldrums, near the edge?
So are you asking like, do I have any kind of influences I look up to type thing, or?
Yeah, and so like,
Yeah.
almost like proving your point. Like, as I said, it's easy for people to go, oh, all very well for you, but you don't know my story. But like, do you have this sort of, this is a tried and true concept type stuff?
Yeah, like I definitely have like people that I look up to in the way of that have kind of motivated me. But I think, like I say, it's having, like hypothetically those millions of people chanting my name. It wasn't until I kind of consciously made that decision. Like I've, read the books and done this and that and reached out to brothers and that, and that's all definitely helped me and gotten me to where I'm at today. But like it really has come down to just making those conscious decisions, like I say, there's including yourself, there's awesome platforms and truth tellers out there that are making it normal for guys to have conversations, to sit down and have a yarn about what's, because like you say, like a lot of what I'm talking about is somewhat perceived as negative, but that negative stuff that I'm talking about has gotten me to where I'm at today. You know what I mean? It's like that darkness, and the same with Scribe, as you mentioned at the beginning. His story is a very strong and beautiful story. You know what I mean? And he's living in his truth now, and going back on tour and doing concerts and stuff like that. Where years ago he was getting press releases put out on him and being shamed out and stuff. It was. And now he's proving everyone kind of wrong. You know what I mean? But at the end of the day, I'm sure he'd agree. It's an individual journey, man. You know what I mean? And there's definitely people I look up to. There's heaps of them. But like I think the brief work's been a big thing for me, and the guys that facilitate that, and yeah.
So let's dive into that. How that sort of into your life, and what sort of formats and stuff did you do?
Yeah, so I first actually heard of it through a guy called Lucas Mack. So he's actually originally from Auckland. He's now like traveling the world. He's done some like brief work and stuff with like the likes of Jake Paul and all that type of stuff. So I ended up reaching out to him and on Instagram, and he replied, and he was real humble, and ended up helping me like kind of get into it, kind of showed me some exercises and stuff like that, and I started to do it, and it made me feel really good. And then I heard about like a brief work rebirth. So basically it's like a hardcore version of, it's quite full on. So I ended up reaching out to a guy. Well, my mate gave me the contact, a dude. He's now in Auckland, but he was in Nelson at the time, and he ended up coming over and facilitating one, and then it all just it all just happened, man. It was amazing. It really helped, like, take me back to my past to be able to actually acknowledge and deal with it, and finally detach a lot of that, garbage that I've been carrying on my shoulder go, like let stuff go and start living in my present moment. Because I think that's been the biggest struggle for me. And breath work, even, when I feel anxious and that, just breathing, you know what I mean? It helps. But yeah, I have done some pretty next level breathing. I'll say that. But it's just, I feel it's a very powerful tool.
Yeah, I think does Lucas have a bunch of tattoos and works with his partner or wife?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's who Ryan Gilbert as well did his first session with up in Auckland.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah, so he's forged training. He's down sort of Feely way there, and loves a bit of breath work, especially with some of the guys that used to be in the military with him. Helped to relieve some PTSD and stuff like that. So that's cool. And I've got another friend, Gemma, who's been on the podcast a couple of times. She as well, I think, has done quite a few sessions with them, and she does some facilitating up in the Waikato as well. So, yeah, it's funny how these little threads of people come around, and like the sessions I've done with Nigel Beach, and then with Dino Gladstone and Mark Clure over in Australia, they were both part of when Wim Hof came out to Victoria in like 2017, and I've run into a lot of them, and Josh Coleman, who's based in the West Coast, and he does a few sessions over at Tim Bateman's gym over there in Christchurch. He's another one. Although he had a heart attack at that Wim Hof retreat.
Wow.
Because so I've remembered Josh's name this time, which is great. I keep forgetting him in a multiple of podcasts. He had lymphoma, I think it was, or leukemia, one of the two, and then ended up with graft versus host disease. So the graft's immune system attacks him, and so so with that, it sort of damages his heart, and he's had countless heart attacks and things along those lines of medical treatment. He's had to live in Melbourne for a while, but now he seems to be back running and coaching people running and stuff like that. It's an awesome story. He's got a wee kid now as well. The other week he broke the world record for cold exposure, and they raised a bunch of money for the I think it was the leukemia hospital there in Christchurch, where people can stay when they're having treatment and stuff.
So, wow, that's epic.
Yeah, awesome story, and like again, like you speak about with the power of breath, just like how amazing breathing in and out can be, and then you also say, like, I've done a lot, and you hear it lots of times, I've done a lot of drugs, but the places I've been with breath have just been remarkable. Like, and I've had some experience as well. I haven't done many drugs, but yeah, the breath is insane what it does to you and how it connects to you as a being and your thoughts, and letting stuff go is pretty unreal, eh?
100%, man. Yeah, it definitely blew me away because, I honestly, am a true believer of the universe, man. It just kind of happened at the perfect time, because when I did that rebirth with the bro, it was just at a really pinnacle point in my life where I was, not in a good place. It really helped kind of clear stuff out, and that's the thing, man. Like giving up the drugs and the alcohol and stuff like that, for me, like it's kind of seen as the easy part of the whole recovery thing. It's keeping clean, keeping maintained, and doing things in life to have that purpose in that. Because I guess for me, like throughout my teenage life, and that I never held down a job. I was on the benefit. I didn't really have a lot of drive, or I wanted to be things, but it looked so far away that I didn't even try and reach for it. You know what I mean? And now, training to be a chef, That's fucking even me saying it, man. It's just like, and I've always wanted to be a chef, you know. Sometimes I second guess myself and go through days where I'm like, fuck this, you know, this is just fucking, this is just not worth it, man. But you know, I have to sometimes take that emotion out of it and look at the bigger picture. You know what I mean?
What's your connection with food, man? I'm a big fan of food. Like one day I hope to own a restaurant on a deer farm that's, paddock to plate. But yeah, what's your connection with food,
Yeah,
bro?
yeah, me, yeah. No, but food's always been a massive part of my life. Yeah, all my parents are foodies. I've got, when I say all my parents, my mum, I've got two dads. I've got a stepdad that's been in my life since I was one. He's always been like hard out with the barbecue, bro. You know, the venison, the steaks, you know, all of that stuff. And that's probably been the baseline of what's kind of got me to that point, you know, of wanting to be a chef. And then I ended up, I think it was the first time I was in rehab back in 2012. When you're in these kind of treatment centers, they allocate you to do different things. And I ended up getting allocated to like go into the kitchen and that and cook food for everyone and like learn how to order the food and go through the processes of a commercial kitchen. And for me, that's kind of where it started to seem like, oh, maybe I can be a chef, you know what I mean? And then there was a bunch of relapses and crazy shit happening. And then I ended up doing a course that I ended up dropping out of, but it was like a hospitality course. And yeah, it was just too full on at the time. But I've always kind of gone back and forward with it. And it's funny, like this time round, getting back into it, I originally never even asked for an apprenticeship, but I got offered one, and the company that employed me ended up getting made redundant. So
Right.
they signed me up on an apprenticeship, got all the funding and all of that. And then, like, I don't know, maybe 6, 7 weeks later, give me a call on my days off when I'm out in Kaikoura with my partner. You've got basically 5 days to get another job type thing. You know what I mean? Like, we're closing for good. And then I'm thinking, fuck, is this a sign to drive me off the path for chefing or what? And then I thought, nah, like I want to, you know, I want to give it a good go. So I already didn't really like that workplace. So I ended up having, you know, a bit of a plan B in the background anyway. So then I ended up getting a transfer of the apprenticeship over to the place that I'm at now. And it's definitely, you know, like I say, it has its challenges, but it's just like life, man. You know what I mean? Like it's ups and downs and stuff. And for me, it's just, you know, sticking at something is a big thing for me. Like actually sticking at this and getting this qualification, like will and is going to mean so much to me, because then I can say, fuck yes, you know, I've done this, you know. Like I've been that kid that, you know, people have you know, he's just going to go in and out of jail. And I honestly believe that, you know, or he was going to end up dead and all the rest of it. And if I can stand there with my chefing knives going, yeah, you know, with the certificate, I'll be, you know, and it's not even the certificate or the qualification, you know, it's just that achievement, you know what I mean?
Yeah, I think you've already hit the nail on the head on a couple of achievements. Like you say, the getting signed up and the job goes, and that's was sort of like the universe testing you, like, hey, you can go one or two ways. You can go, oh, fuck this, and go on another path, or you can go, no, this is the chefing part of thing. It's not the job. The chefing part of thing, the achieving this, the doing it, that's actually who I am, and you've carried on. So there's a massive achievement. Like you say, some days are rough and hard, but you get up the next day and you go back to work, and it's like every time you do that, you're instilling yourself with some confidence, and you're saying to that, you know, that kid, that teenager, like, hey mate, no, you're not useless, you're not a waste of space, you're not in and out of prison, you're showing up every day, going to work and achieving something. And like you say, when it culminates in the qualification, and you can apply for a job as a head chef or a sous chef or whatever in some restaurant, it's like, yeah, I put in all that work, and that's who I am. I'm somebody that does stuff and is capable of stuff. So yeah, that's pretty inspiring there, and that's pretty cool. What sort of restaurant are you in at the moment, and how is it comparing being an apprentice rather than doing a hospitality course?
Yeah, it's definitely been different because obviously you're working. So, like, obviously the course, you were doing the course, and that's it. You know what I mean? Like, you're learning. It's like a school, but this
Yeah.
is you're working. 40 hours, and you're trying to do the paperwork and stuff in between. So it hasn't been easy, but we're getting there. Like, I'm very lucky to have the guy that I have helping me out. He's Service IQ. So obviously that's not his name, but that's the banner that I'm under, and he's just been an absolute legend, and he's let my fiance kind of guide me because I'm not that good with the paperwork side of things, so she helps a lot with that stuff. Like I'll be able to kind of recite because there is a lot of theory in it. But yeah, like where I work is a 4.5 star hotel. So it's not just your normal kind of restaurant. Like it's a good, like for me, when I look at it, it's a really good way to learn like so many different elements because it's not just your dinner service, it's your breakfast, it's your catering, it's your dinner, it's everything, man. It's doing the dishes, it's
Yeah.
there's so much variety of learning in it. And yeah, I'm very grateful for the team that I work with, and it's yeah, it definitely has its moments, but like I'm very grateful.
What happens on room service? Like, obviously, they've got a menu and stuff.
Mm.
And I guess it's no different to someone sitting down at a table and communicating to the waitress that they want this and that off the menu. But, it's just coming via a trolley and via the telephone. Like, do what's that menu like? Is that just there ready to go? Or that's kind of like, oh, they want this, this, and this. Crikey, that's chaos.
Nah, so normally it's pretty straightforward, bro. Like the room service menu at our work is very basic. Like it's nothing too full on. And normally like you'll have, your head chef um there doing all the hardcore things, and then you'll have like me running around, like doing bits and pieces, you know what I mean? So like you got like your toasted sandwiches, so just basic stuff, bro. It's nothing complex. It isn't that crazy. Like obviously sometimes it's a bit of like, for fuck's sake. especially when you're about to clock off at 9 o'clock at night and you started at 6 a.m. You've done a split shift and you get a fucking docket come through the machine. But like I just really relate it to life, bro. You know what I mean? Like you have these moments in life where it's just that another docket coming through the fucking machine, you know what I mean? And it's like, am I gonna
Yeah.
rip it up or am I gonna acknowledge it? You know what I mean? And yeah, but room service, yeah, it was a big shock to me, bro, because I've never worked in anything like that before, with the room services and stuff like that. Because it's like, I'm sure I'm sure you've stayed at hotels and stuff in the past. It's a very complex thing. It's not, you've got your breakfast buffet, you've got your a la carte breakfast, depending on how many people are staying. You've got, your staff lunches. I make the staff lunch as well. We don't actually do lunches at the place, but obviously there's room service 24/7. So if they want something to eat, you make it. But yeah, it's pretty out of it, man.
Yeah, and then with catering, you've got annoying people like me that are gluten free, and you're like, these guys.
My mum's gluten free, bro. I'm very used to it these days. Yeah. And
Oh,
at the
buddy.
end of the day, let's face it, like gluten free is a good way to be. I'm not gluten free, but it is, like I've definitely had those phases that I go through of like, I need to stop this and I need to stop that. And the next minute I'm eating KFC, mate, and it all goes down the fucking toilet. But like I truly, all of that stuff's really interesting, man. Because obviously, you do have your gluten free, but you've got so much different things now, brother. You know what I mean? The ketos, all sorts of different things. Vegan, vegetarian. I don't even know the difference between a vegan and a vegetarian. Of that, I learn things every day, bro. And it might sound silly, but like I just kind of always thought, a vegetarian is a vegetarian, but there is a difference between a vegan and a vegetarian in that. So it's like, yeah.
There's all your catering knowledge. What about skills? Like, what does it feel like to be able to grab a whole stack of onions and smash them out and not end up in a pile of tears after half?
Oh, bro, look, I'm not gonna lie, I still cry, brother. I still end up in a pool of tears, and even like I definitely wouldn't class my, and this isn't putting myself down, but like I'm still, yes, I am somewhat confident, but the way I've kind of come into the workplaces as I know nothing, and that doesn't mean that I do know stuff, but every workplace is different, you know what I mean? And I kind of, when I say I know nothing, it's letting my ego out and allowing myself to learn, because when you go into different spaces, especially in like the kitchen, um every chef has a different way, you know what I mean? So you'll have three chefs in the kitchen, they'll all have different ways of how they do it. So you'll get shown by one person to do it, then you'll go on a shift with another chef and they'll go, oh, no, this is how you do it, you know what I mean? But what you end up doing is you end up creating your own way that works for you. You know what I mean? And the quickest and efficient ways of doing the onions and that. But bro, I don't know what's going on lately, bro. But these onions are fucking strong. I tell you that.
No, beautiful. So like in the past, did you ever allow yourself to dream, and are you now allowing yourself to dream as you go through this course and reinforce how capable you are and get some of that self love?
Oh, bro. Honestly, so much. You know what I mean? Like I just like I'm so lucky, bro, and my life. Well, I guess I'm luck. It probably isn't the word. I'm blessed. You know what I mean? Like I have a beautiful fiance that gives me a lot of love. But she's also been very stern on like I need to love myself. She's always kind of driven that I need to be comfortable independently, and same with her and her journey. We both need to be comfortable independently, so then we can be a team. You know what I mean? And I never really understood any of that, bro. Coming from toxic and broken relationships and stuff like that, I never understood. Independent. What do you mean? Like I never really got it, but I'm very lucky, bro. Like I just all blessed. I got to keep replacing it because it isn't really luck, but it's life is honestly beyond my wildest dreams, and I just feel it has taken a lot of dedication and a lot of action, and it always will, bro. Just like I say, that next negative docket could come through, but at the end of the day, it's up to me. Now I'm going to use that, bro. That's a good one.
Oh, that
But
is good. It's so true.
yeah.
I've even had that yesterday at work. It was kind of like, the booking. Everyone comes into work and like, oh, you guys are busy, and I'm like, nah, I'm actually live the dream. We've got appointments, but sometimes the appointments don't go to plan, and sometimes we get people that really need to see us right away, and then your appointment's up the whack. And it was like I ended up having to stay almost, it's not long. It's half an hour late yesterday, but it was just kind of like
Yeah.
exactly that. Are you going to like leave this person hanging, or are you just going to, sit there for as long as it takes and get it sorted and get it sus and get the person happy? And, they're trying to figure out contact lenses, and it's like, well, you can help them. Be that person, help them, and carry on. And you're right.
It's rewarding though, eh?
Yeah, and like the opposite of that is, you get some negative feedback, and then you've got to answer to a bunch of people, and you've got the guilt of it and all that sort of stuff. And like, actually, Simon Cochran who did the Ultraman, that's like crazy level of stuff. That was one of the things he said. It's like we all know what we're supposed to do. It's just like just do that hard thing, and so much more comes of it. And again, the last minute docket comes out, don't rip it up. Do the docket and carry on. That's really good analogy, eh?
100%, bro, and that's really, I guess the big message out of it all is, these dockets are always going to be there, bro. You know what I mean? Like these dockets are always going to be there, so it's just about moving through it, and I think that's kind of what's that's my story, bro. Is like I was at a point in my life where I honestly felt paralyzed. I let a lot of stuff find me, and it was almost like having a massive sinker, just drowning me in the ocean. Once I kind of let go of that sinker and acknowledged it, I'm able to float up to the surface and start breathing again. Now we're getting into like a whole poetry thing.
Yeah, well, I was just thinking, expanding on that. It was like thinking, what was your outlook before? It's, like you say, it's almost like right in front of your face to the point where it's like, fuck, there's nothing left. And now, like you say, you've got rid of the sinkers. You're up onto the surface, and you can actually get an outlook and have a horizon that's endless. Like it's amazing. Like you say, it's bitter and twisted, but the beauty in it is that now it's amazing, and so many possibilities are really cool, and like, you're a person, you're proof, and somebody can hopefully take strength in that.
Yeah, man. And that's the thing, is that it's not what happens to us. It's really what we kind of do with it. Do we use it as a tool to grow stronger, or do we allow it to damage us and break us down? And I think the damaging and the breaking me down has been a massive strength to my journey. And I get when guys tell me, because a lot of the guys that start following my Instagram, I message them personally, you know what I mean? And I kind of thank them and because the thing is, for me, is it's not about the influencing and all that bullshit, bro. Like, for me, it's literally just about helping a brother out there that's struggling, bro. Like, I don't want anything fucking from it, man. I don't care about anything, like, obviously there's that addict part of my brain that like wants the video to go viral and save heaps of guys and all of that type of shit. But at the end of the day, bro, if I can just stop one guy from taking his life or picking up the fucking drugs or whatever, then I'm happy, bro. You know what I mean? And I just want to share that message with every brother out there that we can get so stuck in our habitual way of life that we don't think that, I'm never going to be able to talk about my shit. She'll be right, crack the beer open, who cares, blah blah blah. But at the end of the day, there's always going to be that little boy inside of you that wants to kind of deal with it, and like you say, jump on the fucking trampoline, crack a smile, have a fucking ice cream. You know what I mean? Like, we all deserve happiness and love, brother. And yeah, that's the thing. It's just, life is it's an amazing thing, and I never thought I'd be talking like this, because for a long time I thought life was fucking shit, that it really isn't these days. And yeah,
Powerful, mate. So where do people find it? It's Answers Within and YouTube as well, that's right?
Yeah, bro. Yeah, so it's just the Instagram page. So that was initially kind of set up. I think my mate made a Facebook, but he ended up deleting it because I don't have a Facebook, bro. I ended up deleting it a long time ago. It was a fucking rigmarole. But it's Instagram and YouTube. So the Instagram was basically to set up the YouTube, but then I ended up, because obviously my whole reason of setting it up, me and my mate, he kind of comes in and out. We initially set it up to kind of release poetry because we both love poetry and stuff, and there is some poetry on the earlier kind of posts and stuff on the YouTube channel, and maybe a bit on the Instagram. But we initially set it up for that, and then I came up with this amazing idea. I want to get 100 guys doing videos talking about their internal worlds, like, can I do it? And now I'm at like 50, you know what I mean? So for me, the drive was to get guys to do the videos, but now I'm having yarns myself as well, as you can see on the Instagram and the YouTube, and that there's reels of me kind of just sharing my experience, strength and hope as well, because it isn't easy getting a whole bunch of guys to do these videos, bro, and I don't really put any pressure on it. Like, it's going to happen authentically. If a bro wants to do one, they can message me and let's upload it. But if they don't and they just want to have a chat and watch the videos and stuff, sweet as, you know what I mean? Like, it's not, there's not a destination point on it, you know what I mean?
Yeah, man. Well, 50 is pretty bloody epic. Like, when you look at podcasts, and not many people get past 3, and then not many after that get past 20, and you've got 50 from external sources as well. Like, that's pretty bloody awesome, Danyon. Yeah, that's cool, mate. So we'll throw that final question at you. What is keeping you in flow? Are you living by a mantra or some sort of saying or something that helps guide you in life, or do you have a quote that helps guide you in life and makes things go well?
I think the biggest one, bro, is there's always light among a dark place. There's always light among the darkness. Like you may feel like you're sinking, but in reality, you could just be floating up right now. You know what I mean? I just feel that, it's that J. Cole, the rapper. There's beauty in the struggle. You know what I mean? And for me, I'm a living example of that. And for me also, I've only got today, bro. I've only got this present moment talking with you right now. Anything's around the corner. You know what I mean? So I just have to, I can't completely recite it, but like go and listen to Fleek's Blind Spot, one of my favorite New Zealand songs.
Yeah.
Danyon from Blind Spot is a really good mate, and he's helped me a lot too. Like I went to a concert with my mum. He put us on the door, and he shouted me out, bro. It was honestly like the most because I've been a big fan of Blind Spot ever since I was young. You know what I mean?
Me too, man.
They're my favorite band, bro. Like it's yeah. So listen to Fleek's Brothers. Like that song. It really tells a story and just seize the day like it is your last. Because like, I'm not going to start singing it, but you know what I mean.
I love the start of that. How it's got like the crowd and shit going on there. Just drops into that.
Yeah,
I'm actually going to go listen to it now. I love that song.
Yeah. Yeah.
Awesome, brother. Thank you so much for reaching out, connecting, establishing a bit of banter on Instagram, and this has been such a wicked episode that I'm sure many people are going to get heaps out of. And keep it up, man. I can't wait to see you running a restaurant somewhere in New Zealand, around the world, grabbing a Michelin star or two. Yeah, man.
Awesome, bro. Yeah, it's been a pleasure, man.